you're also a role model for many young people in Africa. I was wondering whether you could tell me something about your youth empowerment program.
In 2005, a lot of young people in Africa, especially in Nigeria, were disillusioned. We had a lot of young people who had bad images all around the world. They had image of being scammers, and then the women were trafficked around the world. And a lot of young people got to points where they didn't know what to do with themselves. So it was necessary for someone to come forward, since the government was not typically directing these young people and their energy. So the young people naturally would reach out to actors, because these were the easiest people they could reach out to. So they would write letters, they would try to get to us and say, look, I'm restless, I have all this energy, I have all this information, I want to work, I want to do all these things, but there's no one supporting me. So it was important for us to bring everybody together, like minds, and start to really motivate people. We bring people from different should I say, walks of life, to come motivate these young people. So you see people who have actually worked hard and have achieved whatever they have achieved in Africa. Because the problem we've had in Africa is that most of the role models we've had have had to be successful outside Africa and come back to Africa. So it is not believable for the young people. The first thing they say is, number one, you were not schooled in Africa or in Nigeria. Number two, you've had your influences from other places. Number three, you don't know what our struggles are. So for the first time, we try to bring people who had struggled and had made it in Nigeria or in Africa to motivate these young ones and tell them that it's possible, and it's possible for you not to do it the wrong way. So every year we have these conventions, and till now we've been able to sponsor some young people, some young Nigerians in different works of life or different courses or paths in life that they want to pursue. I say education is the means to an end. It is actually the possibility or the availability for you to be able to express yourself on the same platform with other people from other walks of life. It doesn't necessarily have to be for you to be able to do a job. You see, and I think this is the psychology or the mentality that we need to change. When children understand that they are going to school, not necessarily because they have to do a professional job, but because at the end of the day, it gives them an advantage in life to be able to express themselves, think wisely and broadly, and be deep, the in-depthness in their thinking, the possibilities, because they've trained their mind, they've trained their brains, and that can only happen when you get an education. Then, the perspective changes, and then you don't have to force them anymore. Now they want to generally do this. Secondly, I am also of the opinion that we should have theme schools. If I want to be an actor, don't force me to go to the university to go learn law, because truly I will do it for you, but I know I'm not going to be a lawyer. I'm a life student. I love to learn. I love to get exposed to people's thinking, people's ideas, and that's part of education as well. You never stop learning, as no matter how old you are, someone else knows something, maybe the same thing, but in another way.
In the field of education,
right.
What do you think we're doing right in Africa, and what do you think we're doing wrong?
Education is not a priority, period. It's not a priority for Africa. And I hope we get to a point where they understand that the future of Africa is actually in the education of its youths. And that is what we don't have right now. So maybe oil is priority. Maybe politics is priority. But they don't understand that when the young people of Africa are not educated, then we will keep having bad leadership anyway.
A lot of young people in Africa think that the model they have, the success they have in mind is to go study in England, to go study in America, and it's been going on for generations. I mean, through colonialism, we grew up looking to go to England, so now it's America and maybe some other place. But I think also we need to really learn how we, as you say, how we teach people, how we learn. Because in Sierra Leone, for example, where I come from, most of my colleagues who stayed in the country are actually more successful, in all the terms that people use, than the people who went outside. But many young people somehow are blinded to seeing that.
As an actor, you have a lot of social capital. You have a lot of influence. And it's an amazing and very powerful thing that actors and sports personalities and others enjoy. Often it is the case that they don't necessarily use it for social change, which you have, and it's very clear from your biography here as well. I was curious, firstly, have you ever tried to use your social capital in talking to the government? Because often the government is the hardest entity to try to change, to bring social change. So does your social capital work there? And if so, what have you tried there?
I've been an activist with Amnesty International since 2010, and I've been a UN ambassador since 2005. I chose this path. However, I will not condemn some other people who have not been able to choose this path. In the part of the country where I come from, it is extremely difficult. I cannot, for the lack of time, tell you the difficulties I am going through security-wise, even financially, you know, because we're coming from a country where most of the money, most of the support you get comes from the government. So it is very hard to fight that government. However, I speak up because I've been encouraged by people like Wise and so many other people who, like Time magazine, who's named me as one of the most influential people in the world. So that is my consolation. So when I'm deprived of honors back home, when I'm deprived of endorsements, because, for example, I have fought Shell with Amnesty International, and my husband flies for Shell. So for you to understand, you know, how practical my problems are, it is a very, very difficult terrain. Unlike the West, where when a celebrity speaks up, the world encourages them. And they're not really at risk because it's a free society. Back home, it is not as free. You are under a lot of risk. Your family is under a lot of risk. They can decide to attack your financial base, which will naturally cripple you. You know, but God has been my strength, and so far I am still doing the fight. God help me, pray for me.